Welcome everyone, and coming in on Zoom as well. We'll be getting started. In fact, let me introduce you to Joan. Here on camera. Whether he enjoys it.
So I'm just on my camera, right? You don't have.
Oh, no, it's.
Oh.
And everybody. Please, we do things the right way around here.
You're on camera.
Okay.
Joan, we'll be starting in just a couple of seconds once we have people enter the room. For 10 tech tips for boomers and older adults. We have a nice handout here. If you come over to the computer center, you'll be able to get that as well. Joan has been very kind to offer to do this for Visual World Tech. As if you can see the room, you can see that we've taken over one of the other larger classrooms because we had such a good turnout for Joan's talk. So, Joan, I guess I'll turn it over to you. When you have slides or anything, you'll do screen share.
Yep.
And we'll be able to see it.
So where is the camera? Should I look at my camera or should I look over here?
Your camera, but we also have
Okay.
a
Okay, all right. So I just want to look at everybody. And so this is great.
Oh, I think, you know what? Let's now we can see the classroom on camera.
Okay. But
I'm going to back.
okay. Well, I'm really happy to be here.
It makes the print. Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
All right. So my name is Joan Green, and I'm a speech pathologist and an assistive technology specialist. And one of my very favorite things to do is help boomers and older adults learn to use technology. I have a course now that I'm starting on Monday to train the trainers. And so what I've done is this is an introduction to what I think are 10 tips that you can learn to make your life easier. And so I've created this handout because sometimes this can all get really overwhelming. And so I try to just keep it simple, but also I'm going to be giving you access to a lot of resources if you want them. I'm sharing my slides. I believe I charge like $9 or something just because I spend so many hours doing all of this. But what I'm going to do is let me share my presentation.
Wonderful.
Okay. And I have, so if anybody who is watching this on Zoom wants to get a copy of all of the slides, you can just open up the camera on your phone, or if you really wanted to here, you could open up your camera and just this is called a QR code, and it will take you to a website where you can get access to my slides. Okay, or you can email me afterwards because my email address is on here. So for those of you, Joan@innovativespeech.com. So feel free to email me if you want the link to those slides, because in person it's hard, you don't have the link. But I do offer a copy of the handouts, and there's that bit.ly link also. If you have the slides and you want to, it's a bit.ly and then the date. So bit.ly, what this bit.ly link is instead of giving you a super long link that's like 3 or 4 lines long of letters and numbers, it shortens it. So it's just bit.ly/ and then today's date. So that makes it easier.
I can't do it. Yeah.
You could, if you you want me to show you how to do it? Okay, so if we open up the camera. So I'm just going to touch the camera icon on the phone, and you just hold it up to this. And there's this yellow thing comes up, you touch that.
That's the one I know.
And then you get to that website and you put in your name and email. Yeah, it's really easy to do. So
But you can finish it later, it's gonna stay on your phone.
yeah, so whenever and this is something I'll be talking about later, but while we're talking about it, these QR codes, you know, the blue image with all those designs in it, those are becoming increasingly common. And so now when you go to restaurants, sometimes you're not even given menus anymore. You're just given this QR code and they assume that you have a phone. So you open up your camera, you point it at it, and then you go through the menu and order through your phone. I was in New York City recently, and that's the only way they did it.
And saving money on menus.
Yeah, and it came upon, you know, I think during COVID with infection and everything and handing menus and printing them and all that. So, right, a lot of these tech things make life harder in many ways. But if you know how to benefit from them, they can simplify life also. And so I think in this world that we're in, society is assuming that people know how to do these things. And that's what really motivates me to teach classes like this. And I hope that this will start a bunch of classes here and generate a lot of interest, because you really get left behind if you don't know how to do this. I was in a parking lot, I think the one at Saks, because I have a doctor across the street on Wisconsin. And you had to have a smartphone with you to use a QR code to get out of there. There was no person, and you couldn't use a credit card. I couldn't believe it. And so it's really, you know, and to get COVID vaccines, you had to get online, right? And you had to get an appointment to get your vaccine. So I think that you really need to know this stuff. And so the more and more courses that we have to help seniors, the better. So here are just some images, you know, how many of you recognize, you know, the older computers and radios and cameras, right? Things have changed. And maybe you learned on WordPerfect back in the day, the simple word processing, right? Maybe you had a Palm Pilot. You worked on Internet Explorer, which no longer exists and is no longer safe to use. And we used a lot of, it's weird, it's not forwarding.
What's that?
I'm forwarding on this and it's not necessarily forwarding.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Stop the share and restart it.
Yeah. Can't hear.
No audio.
Is that better?
Can you hear now?
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so, and maybe I will put some maybe I'll put captions on. Oh, I have them on. Okay, now I think I should have captions on. So that'll help anybody who's having some trouble.
Yeah, let me do that. I'm so sorry.
Well, with Zoom, people can choose whether or not you use captions. And at the bottom of the Zoom screen, you'll see a CC and you can click on it. And those of you participating now on Zoom can see captions that way. But since I also have people here in the room, I've enabled captions using my Google Slides so that it shows up for everybody here in the room. And so that's a really handy accessibility feature.
I'll close mine then.
Well, okay. And
that's
so,
good.
okay, and nowadays often we have to access something, you might be using your finger, right? Or to access something, you might have to speak and hope that the device understands you. So this whole world of technology has really changed. And I think that staying connected and cognitively engaged is critical to well-being and health. I think that being in person is the best, but we can't always be in person. And so tech is the way that we're staying in touch with people if we can't be in person. And so what we used to do is write letters. We used to use pay phones and dial-up phones. But now everything is changing. It can be super overwhelming. Raise your hand if you're just annoyed with tech and it's so overwhelming and you can't keep up. I'm sure that's everybody, you know. And so what we need to do is you have all these questions, but if we get together and figure it out, that's really the solution. And so I speak at a lot of senior communities, and what I really try to do is get peer-to-peer groups going so that you all get together on a regular basis with some type of leadership and practice using these skills with ongoing support. I feel really strongly that that's what has to happen all over. And I'm going to share a lot of online resources also. And I think that there should be a tech concierge at Leisure World and at every other large place where seniors congregate. That's sort of my mission. And so that I have this elder tech advisor course starting, and I'm training people to become I'm into the train the trainer, right? So that I'm sharing my knowledge and trying to train experts from all over lots of English speaking countries, so that because seniors need more help. And I think that seniors have been largely ignored. So you might be feeling a lot of the, is it worth it? Should I figure it out? What's going to make my life better? What do you do when you get stuck? What if you break it? I mean, there's a lot of hesitancy. But I think tech is amazing. And I think that if you pick a couple of things to learn, it can tremendously improve your life. It can help you be more efficient and productive. And we just need to figure it out. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm picking the top tools that I think you should know about to start with. The easiest things to implement that will have the biggest impact. And those are what are in these circles, in this handout. And so again, I'm a speech pathologist. I live in Montgomery County. I have 4 kids, 25 to 30. I have a business called Innovative Speech Therapy, and I work with people of all ages and abilities. So kids with autism, college students with learning disabilities, all ages and seniors. And I really advocate for accessibility. And my favorite, my favorite tools are computers and tablets, smartphones, the Apple Watch,
There it is.
the Amazon's Echo Show, and different Google apps. So these are my favorite tools. I think Google apps are incredibly great, and I'll be talking about those. Those are sort of a lot of seniors, we grew up, I guess I'm almost 60. So I'd say we, but I sort of identify with seniors. And I think that Google apps are free and really great to use. Microsoft has gotten better, but if you stick with Microsoft because it's what you've known, it's not the same Microsoft that it used to be. It's very different. So sometimes I know with my dad, he was a prominent attorney and really into Microsoft and knew the ins and outs of everything, but then it got too hard and too confusing. And we just stopped all that and started with Google. And it was just much easier for him. So I'll be talking about that. So we need to keep things simple and learn what's possible. So the first tech tip, so I'm going to be going through 10 tech tips. The first one is to demystify the language of tech. So have you ever felt like you're trying to figure something out forever, and you are looking at your phone or looking at your computer and you don't know what to touch, and you don't know how you're supposed to know, and there are no instructions that come with it. And then you ask somebody for help and they just come right up and just do it, I can do that, with my parents or with other people. I can go on a different device and I can figure things out really fast. Some other people that are fairly tech savvy have been trying and just can't do it. And the secret behind all that is the language of tech is symbols. And so you have to sort of decode these symbols. And so if you ever, here's an example of symbols, like if you see 3 dots next to each other or 3 lines, horizontal lines, that often means more. You know, so you could be on your computer screen, a big screen, and things, you know, you don't see those, you might see all the options. Like for Zoom, if you have a big screen, you can see everything at once along the bottom, all of the options. But if you're trying to participate in Zoom on your phone, there's only a little bit of space. And so you most likely see one of those symbols, and that means menu or more, and you have to click on it to see more. You know, and on a tablet, you can participate on Zoom, but it won't look the same as it does on your phone, and it won't look the same as it does on your computer because things are in different spaces. And so you just have to look and try to figure it out knowing these symbols. So here are 4 more symbols. Okay.
It'll take time.
It's just a little
Get
bit.
it.
Okay.
There we go.
If we had a direct connective, how you
There
doing?
you go.
Okay, so hold up 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And those of you on Zoom, I can see you too. So hold up 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers of the number of symbols there that you recognize. So we got a 2, got a lot of 2s, 1, 1, 3, 1. Okay, so let's go over these.
We're actually about based on one of them.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one, whenever you see a microphone, that means something like touch it, and then you can speak and see the words that you say. Or touch it, and you're going to be muted or unmuted. This symbol with the speakers, usually that means you touch it and either you make something louder or softer or mute it. It's something to do with sound. If you see the square with the T in it, that has something to do with text. So if you see that somewhere and you select it either with your finger, if you're on a touch screen, or your mouse, if you don't have a touch screen, that means that after you select that, then you can add text to whatever you're working on. And the last symbols are for upload or download, like send it up to the cloud or download it. Okay, here are 4 more.
Why is
Listen, you'll remember most of them.
And remember, I have these slides available for people for $9 if anybody wants them. And this could be a whole book when you see all the information I have in this. So, so here are 4 more symbols. Take a look and hold up 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers. If you want to, you don't have to. I see a 1, I see a 2, I see a 3, 3. Okay, so the first one, and again, we have a little time lag, but the first one is a printer. That's always, you see some kind of picture of a printer. The second one, when you see 2 sort of documents on top of each other, that's almost always a way to copy something. And that can come in really handy when you get, you know, like a code on your phone that you have to use to enter, you know, a bank account or something, and it's sending you a code that you need. You could just copy it and paste it somewhere. The third symbol is for power. So if you have a device and you don't know how to turn it on or off, usually you can search for that image. And it's not always the same color or the same size, but it's something very similar to that almost always. And then the last one is for brightness, making the screen brighter or duller. Okay, and I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. So when I actually teach, you know, full classes, we spend a lot of time on this. I'm just getting you in the mood for it a little bit. Settings is that gear icon. So almost every device has settings. And whenever I get a new device, a new phone, a new computer, a new anything, I always go to settings first. And I see how I can change it to meet the needs of the person using it. Almost everything can be customized, not everything. But if there are settings, it's good to check those out. The second symbol in blue is Wi-Fi, how to connect. Whenever you see the big A, little a, that means something about the viewing options or the font size. And that can come in really handy when you're trying to read something and it's filled with ads. Like you could be in Edge or Safari, the browser, and it's hard to get through an article or to print an article because there are just so many ads and pop-ups, and it's just frustrating to get to the meat of what you want to read. If you see a big A, little a, you might be able to get to a reading view, which I'll talk more about, and it gets rid of all the junk and it declutters it and it's easy to read. So in Safari and in Edge, up at the top, there'll be a big A, little a, or else it'll say like reading view. It might have an image of a book. And so that's the reading view, and that's really handy. Okay, so now I'm going to go to tech tip 2. It's very handy to be able to turn your speech into text. Okay, so you can, on any phone, tablet, or computer, you can talk instead of type. And this is really handy if you have arthritis, if you're working on a small device and it's hard, it's just hard to type. Maybe you're just really slow with typing, or you've had a stroke or a head injury or something, and or Parkinson's. I mean, I work with people with all kinds of challenges, and there's a lot of situations when it's hard to type, but you can still talk fine. That would be, I know that I do it all the time when I'm on my, when I'm messaging people. If I have a lot to say, it's much easier for me to just speak and have it happen. It's so much faster. Pardon?
I mean, if you're doing that, they put words that you didn't need to say, and
yeah, so it's not right. And I'll go into the pros and cons. It's not perfect, and it's a learned skill. You have to make sure there's not a lot of noise in the background. You have to have clear speech of adequate volume. And usually, if you add the punctuation, it will self-correct. If you try to look at every single word as you dictate, you're going to go a little bit crazy because you'll think it's getting it wrong. But after the final period of a sentence, it looks at the entire sentence and it fixes it. So you could say, like, I want to go to the store today to buy 2 bananas, period. My sister wants to go to, period. It gets all the 2's right. So it's really gotten very good. And if you're doing it in a Microsoft Word document or anything with Microsoft is starting to add the punctuation automatically. You don't even have to say it anymore. You just pause and it puts in the periods for you and question marks.
Which one's this in?
This, you mean on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still on this one with the microphone.
Oh.
So that's all about the microphone. So the images here are all the different places that you can use speech to text in Microsoft Word and Google Docs, when you're searching on the computer, in Facebook, anywhere that you can type, you can talk. You just have to know how. Sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. If you're on a phone, a mobile phone or a tablet, what you do is wherever the keyboard is that you're typing on, there's a little microphone that you might not have noticed. And so you can just touch the microphone, and you might have to give it permission the first time, but it's there. Every single tablet and computer, I mean, not computers, mobile devices, phones and tablets, they all have it. So anywhere where you can type, just look and you'll see that there's a microphone there. So you tap on it, you make sure the cursor's in the right spot, and you talk, and then when you're done, you just tap on it and it stops. So if this were an ongoing series, we'd all practice, but that could take up the whole class. So I'm going to move on. And in terms of device accessibility, all computers and mobile devices will let you do this, but you have to know how. So on your computer, what you do if you're on a Windows computer, you touch the Windows, it's a little bit different. I think it's a Windows logo and H, and then a microphone pops up and you talk. If you're on a Mac, the default is the function key twice, function. And on a Chromebook, it's search and D. So you go into the settings and you enable it. And then it can happen. So you might have to have somebody help you with that part of it. But once you get set up, it's extremely helpful. Yeah,
A quick point, if you don't remember what Joan just said, just say, how do I turn on dictation on a Chromebook? Type it in Google.
Yeah.
A, you will get an answer within a millisecond or 3. B, if it's complicated, there are 10 people who've done videos who will take you through all the steps.
yeah, you go on YouTube. That's how I teach my things. You go to YouTube and you say, how do I use dictation on my iPhone? And you watch a little video. And at the end of this, I have my favorite YouTube people to follow, my favorite channels. Yeah, and so Google Docs is just like Microsoft Word. It's almost the same thing, but it's free. And there are a lot of great qualities about it, but it does have built-in speech to text. You go to the tools menu and then you'll see voice typing in the drop down. So again, don't worry about all these details. I'm just trying to give you an overview of these things that are possible. If you're in Microsoft Word 365, which is the one that's in the cloud, or Word for Web, there's a microphone right up there on the top. You click it and you can talk. Okay. Questions? Tech tip number 3 is use captions. Captions can be extremely helpful for people. If you have a hearing problem, an auditory processing problem, an attention problem, or really just for everyone, I think they can be helpful. Some people are very distracted by them. So it's nice if it's left up to the user, whether or not they use them. Right now, I'm not leaving it up to you because I put it on Google Slides. So everybody is seeing them. But in Zoom, it's built in that if the host has enabled it, every participant on Zoom can click the little CC on the bottom and choose whether or not they see the captions. There are also a bunch of apps that you can use that can give you live captioning in real time. They're amazing. Live Transcribe, Ava. So if you have if you're in a noisy environment and it's hard to understand people, you can just use one of these apps on a tablet or on a phone, and it's like you just see what people are saying. You don't need, it's just real-time transcription. And so sometimes it works better than others, but it's really quite good, I think. And then while I'm talking about this, I just wanted to throw in, there's a lot of assistive hearing technology. And so I don't know what's available here in Leisure World, but a lot of places have audio loops. And a lot of people with hearing aids may have a T-switch or something else that they can, or you can wear something so that you can hear better what the people are saying. And yeah, I've done webinars on all this assistive technology for hearing. If you're on most TVs and streaming apps, you can turn on captioning on Netflix, on YouTube videos, just everywhere. So if this is something that helps you, look around in the settings and it's probably available. And if you use the Chrome browser, so browsers are how we get online, and you can have Safari, you can have Edge. Here I'm talking about Chrome, and Chrome has built-in live captioning. So you go into the accessibility of it, and if you turn it on, anytime you watch anything that even home videos on Chrome, you can have captions. So it's really very cool. Google Meet is becoming increasingly popular. It's very similar to Zoom, but it's free. Well, Zoom has a free level, but this has built-in captioning too. In the schools, Google is used in the schools all over the place. Google is really taking over because it's so inexpensive to use. And it has Google Meet is, you can have anybody with an Android phone can talk to have a, it's like FaceTime, you know, FaceTime with iPhones, but you can't FaceTime with people with Android phones. You can now, you have to send them a link, but Google Meet, you can download the Google Meet app on any device. and video chat with one or a whole group of people for free. So it's really quite nice. Questions? Okay, so we've talked about the language of tech. We've talked about speech to text. We've talked about captions. Now we're going to talk about simplifying the view. So if you have a hard time reading, if you have low vision, if you have headaches or seizures or sensitivities to light, if you are really annoyed with ads and pop-ups, if you hate the distractions or the print is too small on any of these screen technology devices, then you want to think about changing the view. And so I talked about the big A, little a. There's also the symbol there in the middle with all those horizontal lines. That's something like that is really indicative of a reader view. And so I've been using this a lot lately. If I'm on Safari, if I'm on my iPhone and I'm on a website with Safari and there are all these ads and pop-ups, I just click on the reader view and they're gone. And it just shows up right next to, if we have extra time, I'll do all this live, but it just is up on that address bar. It's right next to it up at the top. So you might never have noticed it, but it's there and it's free. And all you need to do is touch it. And it makes things much easier to read once you're in an article, like CNN.com. It's a mess. You know, you get into your article and then you can click on reader view, and then it's so much easier to read, and you can choose the size of the font. You know, it's a little bit different depending on what device you're on. If you're in the Chrome browser, there's a Chrome extension, which is getting a little complicated. But if any of you are really into Chrome and Google and you know about extensions, the Postlight Reader, which used to be called Mercury Reader, does the same thing for free. Chrome doesn't have a built-in reader view. It's in an experimental phase right now. So this is an example of what it looks like on CNN. So this is a screenshot of CNN, and I wanted to read that article. And so what I did is I clicked on the article and I saw that, but there's still ads and everything. So then what I did is I clicked on, all right, it's sort of, yeah.
It takes time.
It's up here, there's a little image of like a book right up at the top. So I'm in reader mode. And then you can see that I could change the background color. I could make it bigger, and it got rid of all the ads. And then I could print that and I can read it. It's just so much better. So in terms of an easy thing to do that's going to have a big impact, I think that this is one thing. I'm going to show you a little bit about Immersive Reader, which is it's free and included in the world of Microsoft. So if you're using Microsoft 365, does anybody here use Microsoft 365? Okay, so if you have updated Microsoft, I don't even think they're selling just the ability to have Microsoft be on just one computer anymore. I think it's all sort of shareable and in the cloud now, so you can access your account from multiple devices. But Immersive Reader is a game changer because that allows speech to text and text to speech and declutters the view. And so it's really good to know about it, and it's free. Oh, I have this on. Okay, so.
Select View, Immersive Reader. Choose one of the options. Column width changes line length to improve focus and comprehension. Page color can make text easier to scan with less eye strain. Line focus removes distractions so you can read line by line. Text spacing increases the spacing between words, characters, and lines. Syllables show breaks between syllables to improve word recognition and pronunciation. Read aloud lets you hear your document as each word is highlighted.
The Amazon rainforest is an expansive forest located in the Amazon basin.
So it's really a game changer for people that have different kinds of reading.
Use Immersive Reader in Word to improve your reading skills.
Play that again.
Select View, Immersive Reader.
Okay. Alrighty.
Even the experts.
Use Immersive Reader in Word to
It's weird, I don't know.
There you go.
Okay, all right. So that immersive reader is incredibly great. So if you're on a computer and you're using Microsoft Word or you're in Edge, any of the Microsoft products, if you have trouble with reading or writing, that's definitely go into the settings and immersive reader. It's just there and included. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to add anything. You just have to know that it's there to use it. And again, if that's something that appeals to you, just go on YouTube, get the YouTube app or go to youtube.com and put in immersive reader tutorial and just watch, how to set that up. All right, questions?
Do you know if that's available in foreign language?
Yeah, lots of foreign languages, so many, and it will even translate in real time. Like you can have it read aloud in a different language. It's amazing what these things can do now. All right, tech tip number 5 is listen to text read aloud. So you saw that a little bit with the immersive reader. And so you often see a symbol sort of like that with, a document and a speaker. And all devices, all phones, all tablets, all computers can read aloud text to you that are in documents or that are online. You just have to know how to do it. So it can be really helpful if you have visual problems, perceptual problems, attention and memory challenges. If you read while you listen to things being read out loud, there's a lot of research that says that you retain that information better. And some people might just prefer to listen as they're doing other things. So on the phone, on an iPhone, you go into your settings. I have all the, oh, it's a little delayed, but I have everything here that you would have to click. You can always look on YouTube and say, how do I read print aloud on my phone? But if you go into the settings and the accessibility section and select spoken content, you can choose speak selection and speak screen. And then whenever you select the text, it'll be read aloud. But you do want to be careful because there is something that I would recommend against touching. Let me just see what that was. So if I go to accessibility, there is voiceover. Don't touch voiceover. Voiceover changes all the gestures. So instead of having to touch something once, you got to touch it twice. It's for people who are blind or have very low vision because they really can't see anything. And so it tells you more than you want to know. Like it helps you navigate the phone. Whereas what I'm talking about is just reading the words out loud. And so don't use voiceover unless you're very visually impaired because it really messes things up. It's hard to navigate. Yeah.
A hint for Apple iPhone users. When you go to settings, there is a search bar. There are search bars all over. In that search bar, if you say spoken content or whatever you think the text thing might be, it will actually just eliminate all the other choices and show you, oh, we have spoken in accessibility, we have spoken in 5 other areas, and you can look at them and decide if it makes sense. If it still doesn't make sense, then you would want to go to Google to see which is the one that's closest. But frequently, one of the problems that all of us who are users is that the terminology changes. What was spaces 5 years ago is now some other definition. And it was wonderful then, it's wonderful now, but they took it away from it.
So this is, in the next screen, it just shows what you touch on in iOS. So whether it be on an iPad or an iPhone, just touch this, touch this, touch this. And then I always select highlight content because I like the words highlighted as they're read. I think that that's really helpful. And then you can also choose the voice. You can go into voices and choose a different voice, choose a different rate, so you can really customize things. For Android, who uses Android? So there are always a lot of Android users. It's a little harder sometimes to help Android phone users because it depends on which type of Android phone, because they're all a little bit different from each other. So whereas iPhones are all the same, if you're up to date, but you use the select to speak. You go Android 11 and up, you go to settings and accessibility and then select to speak. If it doesn't work and you don't see select to speak, that means you have to download the Android accessibility suite from the Google Play Store. And so then, you know, you can turn on select to speak, or you can do a 3-finger swipe. So, you know, again, if you have an Android and you want to learn how to do this, just look up a YouTube video, or maybe some people know this. Raise your hand if you feel really good about all this stuff. Okay, so everybody, what's your name? Everybody go to Deborah. I mean, I think.
And Deborah will come work with us.
I thought you were asking me if I was enjoying it.
Oh.
Anyone
Yeah.
who's good, please follow.
Yeah, I think we really, what Leisure World really needs is some volunteers who are in the know of this stuff. And then to have separate classes, like for iPhones
We
and
have 3
Android.
days a week of help sessions.
Yeah. I know that they're, you know, so I hope that
And
this,
we're hoping to expand with more volunteers.
yeah, because that's, you need a peer support group to learn this stuff.
And I've got the schedule. I
Thank you.
had the
Yes.
September schedule.
How come it printed so badly?
This is the bad side, this is the
Oh,
good
okay.
side.
Good.
Technology resource where we thought we were gonna need, they do us, then we have volunteers.
That's great. That's great. So that's a real benefit to living here is you have access to these, you know, other people and help. So Google Chrome, you know, for those who are using Google Chrome, there's a web store, the Google Chrome web store, and that's how you get all these different extensions, but that's getting a little bit complicated. I'm not going to talk too much about that other than to say read and write by Text Help is my favorite Google Chrome extension. And if you are helping somebody or you need help with like reading on your computer and you use Chrome, this is fantastic. This could be a game changer. It also works in Edge. And so I help a lot of college students, high school students, and adults who have ADHD, who have dyslexia, dysgraphia, visual problems. I often have them download this extension and use it because it's extremely helpful. And then if you're working on a Mac, you can set it up under preferences and accessibility so that if you select text and then press Option and Escape, it just reads it out loud. So, so just know that there's a way to do it on all of the different devices. And then in terms of books, there's the Libby app, which is free and connected to libraries, Montgomery County Public Library. So both of my parents use a Libby app all the time, and they both have some visual challenges. And so they just order so many books to an iPad, and if you want one that's not there, you place a hold on it and it lets you know when it's ready. You can have it for 3 weeks. You can renew it if nobody's waiting for it. It's just like, you know, a real book. You can get audiobooks or just, you know, print books with words that you can then customize how large the font is and what the colors are. And so it's really fantastic. Hoopla is another app like that. Okay. Questions about that? Okay. Tech tip number 6, embrace the cloud. And I know a lot of people are probably really don't want to embrace the cloud, right? The iCloud or OneDrive is the Microsoft cloud because you don't know where this stuff is going and who's going to access it. And it seems really insecure and unsafe. But I think that if you have good passwords and 2-step verification, there's a lot of effort being done in keeping your information secure, and it makes life so much easier, and you almost have to use it. It's just a really good thing to do, I think, because what if you don't have something when you need it? You know, is all of your important information at home on paper? You know, like everything that you really need. What happens if something burns down or gets wet or gets destroyed? I mean, are there backups for things? Do you have children that need to have access to some of this stuff if something happens to you? Is there somebody that helps manage, like takes you to doctor's appointments or helps with shopping or, I don't know, there are ways to work with families to share calendars and share documents and share grocery lists. And I think that it's really important for emergency situations. So I know with my parents, we have shared a shared Google document with all of their doctors contact information, all of the medical history, all the, everything. So if somebody ends up in the hospital, I have access to everything. And it can be a PDF that's password protected. It can be a shared Google Doc. I think it's really good to be proactive about all of that. And so, whether you're using Google or Microsoft or Apple, things in the cloud generally save automatically. So gone are the days when you're working on typing up a document and then you forget to save it and then you've lost everything, and you have to start over. I love working in Google Docs or Microsoft Word 365 because it constantly saves, and you can even go back to prior versions. You can share it with somebody else and instantly collaborate with each other. It's just, I think, a really good thing to do. And so Google Drive is the place where all of the Google documents are stored. So that, and then OneDrive is where all of the Microsoft documents are stored. And whichever system you choose, you can organize things in folders and give them colors and just be really organized. So I help people set up these systems. That's part of what I do, because some people just don't know. They get they can't find anything that they've done, and it's just sort of a mess. And I think it's important to have a good system. I really like Google Keep, which is a free app. If you need a Google account, so you need a username and password for Google. And it's the same whether you're using Google Maps or Google Photos or Google Keep or Google Docs. It's you have one identity, that's your profile. And then you can share these. And so we share grocery lists in my family. If my kids want me to get them something, I said, it has to be on the Google Keep. If it's not there, I'm not getting it. And then you can move things around before you go shopping. You can put all fruits and vegetables together, just move it and then check it off when you're done. If you're planning a party and you're inviting people, everybody can add people that they want to invite, things to do. So I have a Google course that I offer. And right now it's a self-study course. I hopefully will be offering it live again, probably later in the fall, if anybody's interested.
Can you get it online then?
It's
Right now it's online, but I don't, yeah. You can go to my website, innovativespeech.com, and
Innovativespeech.com.
Yeah, it's on that handout that I gave you. So it's a self-study now. It doesn't have a live component. I like doing things when they're live too. But I left this available since I don't have it now. Yeah.
Where do you find it in Apple?
same place, under Google
It's in
Drive.
Google.
Wait, where do I find?
Serious. You have to go to Google.
Oh, wait, Jimmy, where do I find Google Keep on a Apple
Where do you find
device?
the cloud?
So there's iDrive, iCloud, the iCloud, the Apple iCloud.
So iCloud.
Is it in
an
settings?
Apple device, on all Apple devices.
Yeah, let me-
It's the way that they share
Yeah,
information and sync things.
but was it in settings? Like if I can go to
Yeah.
settings and then go to.
Essentially, it's hard to avoid. Literally everything that an Apple does wants to share it through iCloud to your other devices. But you can also, but the same thing that she's talked about is done with Google Drive. So the same way that you have pictures on 5 different devices, Google Drive will do exactly the same thing. Music, document.
It does get confusing because you can be on an iPhone,
Yeah,
and so you have things backed up into your iCloud, right?
right.
But because I use all 3, right? I have to know how to do it. So some things I have in my Google Drive, some things I have in my iCloud, some things I have, in there's Evernote, there's Dropbox. I mean, there are a lot of these things. And so sometimes it can get confusing. It's best really to just pick one. Or I think the iCloud is the most expensive for the least. Google Drive is the best value. And so I tend to use Google Drive the most.
And
But like, I don't even know when my iCloud is full.
Yeah, it's under settings and you can look on your phone and they'll tell you what's in your iCloud. So-
and you get warnings,
Where do you find it?
you come into the resource center and
Okay,
that's Friday afternoons on there,
all right.
simple.
Would you repeat that?
I'm in the resource center, technology resource center across the hall every Friday from 2 to 4.
Thank you.
Alan Sal.
Okay, tech tip number 7 is to connect with video calls. I think that it became really clear with the pandemic and everything that seniors were really isolated. And so it's fantastic when you can be with people in person, but video calls are really the next best thing. And so there's been a lot of progress in this area. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of all of the choices. And so I just want to run through some of those to make sure you understand. So it used to be, and people still do use Skype. Is anybody in this room using Skype? I mean, I think that was really the first thing that was out, but it costs money and you have to create another account. And, you know, I don't know anybody using Skype anymore, but I'm sure that there are plenty of folks. Now, most people that I know that have iPhones are using FaceTime, right? That's just an app. Or if you have a Mac or an iPad, you can FaceTime from any of those devices. A problem was always that you can't include people who have Android phones. Now you can. There is a way you can look up a YouTube video, but because my 3 daughters all have iPhones, both my parents have iPhones. I have an iPhone. My son has an Android phone. And so it's a problem. But now when I set up a group FaceTime call, which you can do now, which is great, I have to send him a link and invite him. But he can't initiate it, but he can be part of it, which is really nice. Google Meet is free, and that you can, I've talked about that before. That's an app that you can download on any tablet or phone, or you can go to meet.google.com on your computer, and you can have group calls that way, video calls. You can have Zoom. Most people are familiar with Zoom now.
Do you have to pay for Facebook?
FaceTime?
FaceTime? Yeah.
No, it's just included in, no, you don't have to pay anything for it.
But Facebook is something different.
Facebook is a social media account. That's free too, but that's different. That's not a video calling kind of thing. Although you can, well, I won't get into that. I'm trying to keep it simple. So these are my parents here. And so we FaceTime a lot with the family. So those are my 2 new granddaughters in Boston. And so the only way that we can see them, when we're not there, is to FaceTime. And with the group FaceTime, so I'll put my mom in one end of their apartment, 1 bedroom, because they both have hearing aids and their phones are connected directly to their hearing aids. But so if they try to FaceTime at the same table, there's going to be interference and it's terrible. So they have to be in separate rooms, and I can be at home and my other kids can be other places. And I set up the call, I invite everybody to the call, and we can all see each other and talk to each other. It's really nice. And so that's nice and it's free. But there are lots of simpler options, which is what I want to point out, because not everybody has a smartphone. Not everybody is cognitively able to use a smartphone. So my mother-in-law is in assisted living memory support, and she can't use any tech at all. We've tried and through the years. And so she has the GrandPad and the Amazon Echo Show. So, and Sociavi, ViewClicks, and OnScreen are newer. But what these do is they enable you to just sort of appear. You have to set it up and have permission. But like with the Amazon Echo Show, the Amazon Echo Show is not expensive. I don't know how much you can get one for, like
It's about $150.
$150 or $200, depending. I love the Echo Show. I use that all the time with so many different people. But what we can do is we can just drop in. So my husband every single night at 7 o'clock on the dot uses the drop-in feature of the Echo Show, and he just drops in on his mom, who's waiting for the call, because she's very time oriented. He can't be a minute late. And they talk. and she's just there and they talk and he can check in on her. And so you can use that to really check in on people, which is great. The GrandPad is a little bit different. That's expensive. It's like $80 a month, but we pay it because sometimes Wi-Fi isn't working and you need Wi-Fi for the Echo Show. So the GrandPad has its own 3G or 4G or whatever, like cellular number that goes with it. So you can be anywhere, you don't need Wi-Fi, and that person can initiate or receive calls just within the secure network that a family member sets up for them. So it's really safe and secure, and they can do messages, they can play games, you can send them photos. It's really a nice device.
Is the Amazon Echo
Show.
show $100 a year
No,
or a month?
one time.
Yeah,
One time.
once,
Okay.
no, what I like about it is you just buy it once and then you don't pay any more money. It's
And
not
by
a
the way,
subscription.
Amazon Echo, just like the other Amazon Alexa devices. You don't type. You just say, I want to drop in on so-and-so. It knows it,
Wow.
it takes care of it. And now after
Yeah.
that call is done, you can say, can I listen to Beethoven? And guess what?
Mhm.
It'll play you some Beethoven.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. So Sociavi and ViewClicks are sort of the same, but they're a little bit pricey. They have a subscription model. And all of these you can choose to have photos just sort of playing like a frame, you know, when it's not in use as a video calling phone. And the on-screen TV is pretty new, and that you show up on their TV. They can be watching TV or not, and you just show up. It'll turn on the TV if it's off, and it'll pause the program they're watching, and you just sort of show up. But I think that these are really nice for people who are isolated and you really want to try to connect with them. All right, 4 more minutes. I'll go sort of faster. All right, AI. I am really all over AI right now, but I'm doing a presentation on that in a couple of weeks. But I'm going to talk mostly about Alexa and Siri, the smart assistants. So I think that those are really great to embrace. They can answer questions, they can help you manage your calendar, turn on and off the lights, get information, play music, do all kinds of things. You know, a lot of them, Siri is the one on your phone, iPhone. Hey Google is on your Android phone or other Google devices, and Alexa is on the Amazon Echo devices or more. And they can do lots of things. And I don't have time to talk about ChatGPT. I'm going to just skip that. Okay. So I think you can set up all kinds. There's a lot that these devices can do, from reminding you when to take medicine, to getting help in an emergency, to helping keep you in shape, you know, if you listen to it. And you can use all kinds of sensors and smart locks and doors. I mean, to have smart homes, it's sort of beyond what we're talking about now, but there's incredible potential there. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. All right, but I just want to say, with that Echo Show that we were talking about, when my dad, he was in the hospital pretty sick for 3 weeks with COVID. All he wanted was his Echo Show, because he could listen to music, he could make a call, he could ask what time it is, he could listen to the news. I mean, it's such a great thing, but you have to have Wi-Fi for it. Okay, and then there's a whole world of apps and online programs to keep your brain sharp, you know. And so there's, you know, and you can choose to get this handout. We don't have to, I knew I don't have time for everything, but there's Lumosity and Constant Therapy. There are all kinds of different programs. AARP has a section of their website devoted to games that are really good. There's something called MindMate that's really good. It depends on your abilities and your interests, and if you like that kind of thing. You know, you just got to be sure to be stimulating your brain, and tech can really help with that. This is a fantastic site that's free by Google, artsandculture.google.com. It has a lot of senior living communities use this site for a lot of programming, because you can have virtual tours of museums. You can learn about different composers. There's a ton there, artsandculture.google.com. I see everybody frantically writing, so. And this is just more of that, you know, it has games that you can play, puzzles that you can do, trivia, you know, it's all on that one site and it's all free. And then tech tip number 10 is just to keep learning, you know, have fun, explore, pick one new thing to learn, find a tech buddy, practice with peers, find a place to go to when you're stuck, which is, you have that here, which is wonderful. Look things up on a video, you know, watch a video, pause it and try to do things on your own. Take notes, write down things to remember and practice a lot. This guy, Rich Bolin, I think is absolutely fantastic if you have an iPhone. He was on one of my webinars recently, and I think that his YouTube channel is fantastic. So if you just go to YouTube or just Google Rich Bolin iPhone videos, you'll probably find it. But he has a whole bunch of them that are very helpful. And then there are lots of places that you can go to for classes. So in addition to here, there's Senior Planet, which they have a lot of online classes and some in person in Montgomery County here. There's an organization called getsetup.io. And they have more than just tech. I mean, they have all kinds, you know, cooking classes and exercise classes and all kinds of things. Getsetup.io has lots of classes. Boomer M. I did a thorough, I'm writing a book about all this. I've done a lot of research. And so these are really my favorite organizations that are trying hard to help seniors with tech. And there's Cyber Seniors, which they use students. So that's a multi-generational, cyberseniors.org. And then I have a free Facebook group, IST Tech Savvy Solutions, that people help each other all the time on that. And anybody's welcome to join. So it's, you just go, if you're on Facebook and you're into groups, that's sort of a group for people wanting to become more tech savvy and help other people with different kinds of challenges. And I have my Elder Tech Advisor and Teacher Network. So if anybody's interested in sort of tech savvy and you want to be in a leadership role to help other seniors learn about tech, my class starts on Monday. But it's a really good course, and I think it'll be fun for a lot of people. And you can get to that from my website. It's 5 weeks. And I have all kinds of past presentations that are available from my website. Because I for a long time, for 6 years, I've been doing monthly free webinars on different topics. Right now, I'm taking a little break from that. And I'm forming an assistive technology network of Greater Washington. So if there are any assistive technology specialists in this group, you're welcome to join. And I provide one-to-one advising and coaching with technology, mostly online. Sometimes I go in person. But you just have to think about your next steps, one thing at a time. So it's not overwhelming. So today I showed you a lot, but if you just think about text to speech, you know, or coming here for help, you know, just pick a couple of things.
Like that one Friday, I couldn't get everything done that class.
Which one?
The Friday just before this. Yes.
Oh.
It's what they-
And that's just me. That you have it on the handout. That's just me and my business and what I do. Innovativespeech.com. So that was just saying that I help people. And if you need my help, and I offer free 15-minute calls. So if you go to my website, there's a pop-up that says, let's chat. And probably every day I do about 2 of these. And you can just pick a time and I call you on the phone and I help you figure out your next steps. You know, no obligation. You don't have to hire me for individual or anything. It's just helping you figure out what you might want to pursue if you have a question or something.
The Leisure World Tech will have this slideshow available. We'll be getting a copy and we'll have it available at the center. And it'll be done through our own website.
And the recording will be there, right?
And the recording will also be there.
Yeah, so people can watch this again. If you, you know, if I went too fast, I know it's hard. I mean, when I'm working with somebody one-to-one or teaching a class that's sort of ongoing, this is sort of an overview kind of thing. So, you know, it's always hard because I want to make sure that I'm sharing enough knowledge so that something appeals to everybody, you know, and then once you figure out what you want to know, then that's when you really zero in on something and try it. But I'm happy to hang around for
Is this your
questions.
first time here?
Here, yeah.
Why don't you stop your screen share and I'll do a view. So if anybody in the group who wants to raise their hand, we'll be happy to, you can unmute yourself and be happy to answer questions from the 12 people on Zoom. I'm glad the microphone is picking me up. Any other questions here? We have, Joan had some of these topics already dealt with. We are doing about 4 sessions a month at present, assuming we can keep it up. And the last one, in fact, was a group called APCUG, and they did a rather lengthy one on the assistive technologies specific to Microsoft, because assistive technologies have been around for 20 years. But in the past, you had to buy a separate program, and the best of them was on the order of $700 or $800 just for that software. That no longer is an issue because all of those features have been embedded in what's called the operating system standard with the piece of equipment, down to phones, which to me is amazing. But I mean, for instance, there are things like if you're reading text on an Apple machine, and I'm assuming on all the others, there's a keyboard command that says, make this little bit of text big. And by God, it's across the screen for 10 words. Or you can enlarge pieces of it in any way that's helpful. In addition to reading it, in addition to you dictating it. And actually for dictation, now there's a way of doing the editing that you should be doing if you want a sensible message. That can come out. So those are items, and we had done those. We did another class on specifically on Alexa. One of the people in Leisure World Tech has made his home a wireless smart home here in Leisure World. It's pretty amazing. And all of these things are available, and we are making an effort to teach people. In fact, as Joan was mentioning, we have a lot of people who have old computers that need to be retired, and we are proceeding very soon to start recommending Chromebooks because of the cost factor and the feature, how rich the features are. And we'll work with you on that. I just recently looked it up. And one of the problems when you buy a new computer is what do you do with your old data? Well, it turns out in Chrome, it's the simplest thing in the world. It will, we can set it up to get it running in about 8 minutes.
When my mom needed a new, she's always had Macs recently, Macintosh computers, and she needed a new one. And she just does the basics, go on Facebook, go on Amazon, email. So we got a $200 Chromebook, and it's fantastic. And she hasn't had issues. And now she understands the Google apps, and it simplifies things.
All of your old data, your old worksheets, your old text documents, PowerPoint, slideshows, you just import it.
Yeah, you can open up a PowerPoint on a Chromebook or open up Microsoft Word on a Chromebook.
So even if you don't even have to look at it before you put it on the new Chromebook. It's just like any other modern device you do. Literally, you don't even have to have it backed up.
And if something goes wrong, if you spill coffee on your Chromebook, it doesn't matter at all. You just get another Chromebook, and everything is there because it's all stored in the cloud.
There is nothing in a Chromebook except a very simple operating system, which, by the way, is more secure than the other operating systems for reasons that we had explained to us at yet another lecture we did earlier in the year. So when these become available and our website is complete, you'll be able to see and hear a lot of the things, and we intend to, as Joan says, be the resource for the community.
I see that Helen has a question.
Helen, hang on, oh, good,
Or maybe Judith. Oh,
go ahead.
Are you looking for Pettis?
We were,
I saw-
someone had raised their hand. Was that you, Helen? Okay,
I can't hear you in the studio here on site. That's my concern. You sound far away.
well, I am far away from the microphone. The microphone is at Joan's desk. Did you have any question?
No, it's just that I can't hear you. I can hear Green,
Okay.
but
thank
that's, thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Well, you made a recent comment, it sounded like you're very comfortable with putting things on the cloud. I've always been nervous about the possibility of what could happen with that data, even though people say it's security, not allowed. So your feeling is, don't worry about it.
I know, my husband won't. My husband does not use Google, won't use Google Drive. We're very opposite that way. So I'm okay with it, and I use two-factor authentication. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a risk I'm willing to take. It's always risk. It's convenience versus risk, I guess. And I just really like what it has to offer, and I feel that I've never had a problem so far.
Regarding
No.
the risk with Google, the logic of how Google does all the documents and all the information is so complicated that it is impossible for an outside hacker to find you. Your data is chopped up in pieces, distributed, and only their operating system knows where, how, and what. Now, if you don't trust Google, that we can't help you with. But Google does not use your mail or your data. Simply doesn't. So
I mean, it is disconcerting when you search for something and then it shows up in ads, and Facebook. I mean,
But
there's a
that-
lot of marketing and.
right, but that's the browser. When you're in your Google Drive,
Yeah.
it's essentially not much different between you and your own hard drive, except that there is an intermediary Wi-Fi to a remote server.
Are you making a distinction for that particular cloud?
Is it George?
Opposed to others?
Like OneDrive
Yes.
and.
OneDrive probably is the same. I don't know, but as far as Google Drive and iCloud, they are independent. It is your data, and they treat it as such. So unless you give away your password, you are pretty well secure. I actually, because I'm an iCloud user, I actually keep a backup copy of passwords in my iCloud account. It's encrypted, and unless you can get into my iCloud account, no one else can see it. So I can't tell you that it is impossible, but the logic is such that it is almost a statistical impossibility to be hacked. And it then goes to whether you trust Google with your data the way they would treat their own data. That I can't assure you of. As far as I know, with all the school kids in the world, there's no hacking, there are no records of data stolen or accessed.
Well, make quite a headline if it ever happens.
Exactly, and they're very sensitive to that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, today again, it happened again. I go to sign into my Google email.
Huh.
And I click on this little link that saves my name and password. We sent a message to your Samsung, and I pull out my phone, and it said, someone tried to sign in from Ashton, Virginia.
Okay,
Is that you? And it's the same time as when I just signed in, yeah, it's 11 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock.
It's probably you.
And so I say yes,
Okay,
and then it lets me in, but why does it, I'm in my, mutual 14 over on Blake Drive, why does it think I'm in Ashton, Virginia?
unusual. It usually does know where you're physically located and responds that way, but it is, well, again, our servers, there are connections that we make that go through Virginia. I don't understand that one. I don't see it, but yes. Dual authentication, which is what everyone should be using when you have this data, says that when there is a new device, it tells you at least 2 or 3 times that something new and different is happening.
But it's
Why
not
it's Ashton,
really
Virginia,
device.
I don't know.
I've had the computer for a number of years now, I've had this phone.
You might
for a
just have
number
it set
of
up
years
so
now.
that it always,
Same. two
I understand.
devices.
You could come in and we could take a look at it.
And, you know, and when I click yes, it's me, I'm just, maybe somebody in Virginia. is
They're-
really happy. But I want to get into my email, so I said, yeah, and it does, okay, click on the number, and it's 7878, okay, you may.
Again, a dual authentication means that not only do you need to know your username and your password, but there is a device, a physical machine that's only that you have said is mine and I carry with me. And that's how you confirm. So that if you don't have that device, you don't get in. Simple. Yes, and the reason, by the way, they use cell phones is a cell phone doesn't have multiple drops. You can't have 2 cell phones with the same phone number without going through a lot of effort. And I don't even know, technologically, I don't understand it well enough to know that it cannot be done, but it's very, very difficult.
any other questions or any situations? Yeah,
You already talked about the Amazon Echo
show.
show. Is that better than the Chromebook or?
They're totally different. So the Echo Show isn't a computer. Well, it's not a classic kind of computer. It's a smart assistant that you listen to music and you ask questions and you can do video calls.
You can give it instructions.
You can play games, you know, it's that the Chromebook is like a computer where you type documents and you maybe go on Facebook or do social media and it
Practically everything on the Chromebook is you put on the computer.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the same as a computer, except for the technology.
What is the charge of that?
The one we bought for the computer center was under $300 with a touchscreen,
For the Chromebook?
for the Chromebook, and that's it, you're done,
No monthly charge.
nothing. Well, I take that back. If you store all of your photographs, which are big files, all of your music, decent sized files, thousands of documents, they only give you 15 gigabytes of storage. Okay, but that's not relatable to a computer which has 200 megabytes because you don't store programs. The programs, in fact, are refreshed every time you turn the machine off and on. So that there is no such thing as a virus in a Chromebook. Can't happen. I mean, logically cannot be done.
Do you recommend turning off your computer every night? I leave mine on.
Quite honestly, I leave mine on.
just when it's not working well, then I think I'll turn it off. It fixes a lot of things. As long as things are going well, I leave it on. And then if something's not working right, I turn it off and on and often it gets fixed.
It's honestly, it's preference. At this point, yes, there were many years ago when PCs would catch a cold in the middle of the night, but doesn't happen.
My computer reset like tonight, this morning I had to find it.
Yeah, again, and it could be a power outage, it could be a lot of things, but you know, someone would have to check. What Joan isn't aware of, by the way, is that everybody in Leisure World, or I might have mentioned it to you, as part of your monthly assessment is included 400 megabyte down Wi-Fi.
Oh,
In addition to television, cable TV, you get high speed, very high speed, password protected Wi-Fi. So that's another thing that goes in our favor.
I guess I got out of it.
Okay. We have any more questions online? Joan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And hopefully we'll see other people at another session.
And remember, I do offer those 15-minute free calls, just, just to chat, and I'm happy to do that. So if anybody feels stuck, free, just go to www.innovativespeech.com. That's my website. And there's a little pop-up that says, let's chat. So good luck with everything.